All right, Sam Lucci is here. We're going to talk a little bit of politics. We're going to talk some stuff that matters. Think more, react less is what we like to call it. And we'll begin by talking about local government. Some big elections coming up in just a few short weeks. Allegheny County Chief Executive's race, Joe Rocky, the Republican, taking on Sarah Innamorato, the Democrat. Rich Fitzgerald has done his time, and now he'll step back into private business. I think he's done a really good job. He was one of the instrumental reasons, Sam, along with Governor Corbett, then State Representative Jim Christiana, we ended up getting the Royal Dutch Shell $8 billion project here in Beaver County. But the thing that really concerns me is people seem to argue politics more than actually react and go vote. We only had 30% voter turnout in the primary in Allegheny County. Why do you think people are not acting upon that privilege of voting, but they sure love to argue politics? What do you think about that?
Well, I think politics has been confused. I interview young people. I interviewed a young candidate the other day, which I hired. I'm going to help him become a salesperson. I asked him 3 questions. I said, do you know what democracy is? He said, not really. I said, do you know what capitalism is? He said, not really. I said, do you know what socialism is? He said, not really. I said, do you understand what fascism is? He gave me some gobbledygook answers. So this kid's got a college degree. He's 23 years old. He graduated from Indiana State of Pennsylvania school. He doesn't know much about life. And I think what's happened in politics is it's just become a game between demagogues who just try to push their point across. And people don't think more, react less. What I do when I vote is I look at the whole issue and I think it through. You know, okay, if I look at either side, I can see that they both have benefit, and then I can see that they both have things that are not beneficial. And then I try to weigh the two. And I'm not going to express my view on politics because that's not what I do. I don't teach people what they're supposed to think. I teach them how to think. And that would be my suggestion. But our educational system has been numbing down to a point where people just don't do it anymore. They don't think about it. It's like a high school, you know, my rah, rah, rah for me and rah. Everything you do is wrong, everything I do is right. How could that be? How could that possible? How could anybody ever be always right or always wrong? It's not possible.
Well, we don't have any moderate politicians anymore, no bipartisan politics anymore, and sadly, just about every election in recent time that I've even covered or talked about on the radio, nobody really talks issues. It's just who's got the more dirt on the other candidate.
There are no issues anymore because the people don't even understand the issues. If you don't understand what democracy is and what fascism is, how can you make a choice? You don't even know the difference. You know, people that are probably about 60 years old and down, if you stuck fascism and say, yeah, I understand what that means, but you start talking to somebody who's 40 or even 50, 55, a lot of times, it doesn't have any meaning to them. It's all the same. So they listen to whatever demagogue is preaching to them, and that becomes their God. That becomes their what they do. I mean, that's happening with everybody. You know, I'm going to make a statement. There are no bad people. They're just people that are misguided. And you can't be moderate today. If you're moderate, I don't care. We only have 2 major political parties. If you're a moderate, they run you out. There are no statesmen who reach across the aisle and say, okay, guys, let's get together and make this done. They run them out. Both parties run them out. They don't want them anymore.
You know, I've said we lost the middle class, and it really began 40 years ago, and it's never come back. And I think with misguided people, you've got misdirection in this country, and it's one of the reasons why we have no more middle class. Can we ever even think about attempting to get a solid foundation in this country again with good working class, generational paycheck type of jobs?
Well, you know, I was a school teacher for 8 years. Okay, what did I study? That's what I studied: history, political science.
That's why I thought you'd be a good person to answer this.
The whole thing. Okay, where did the New Deal come from? The New Deal came from a guy named Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Right.
He was, whether you liked him, whether you didn't. That's where the middle class. There was no middle class before that. There were farmers before that. In 1865, 95% of the country were farmers. In 1965, 95% of the people worked for somebody. They didn't work on a farm anymore. So in the 20s and early 30s, by the early 30s, people who moved from the farms to work in the factories where they were basically enslaved. The New Deal brought in everything. It brought in OSHA, it brought in Works Public Administration, it created Social Security, the Glass-Steagall Act that my buddy Clinton, who I thought was a pretty good guy, he got along with the other party and they took it out, and that's when we got the financial crisis in '08. I mean, it was Franklin Roosevelt who put in the New Deal, okay? Now, if you want to take, why did the New Deal die? Because in the Democratic Convention in would have been 44, oh yeah, that'll be the last year, 1944, they elected a guy, or they nominated a guy named Harry Truman, who was a big racist from Illinois, or from Missouri, okay? Henry Wallace should have been the heir apparent to Roosevelt, but they got together in the middle of the night, 3, 4 in the morning, and nominated Truman, and then the rest is history. And that's when the middle class started to decline right there, because the champion of it was Roosevelt. His predecessor should have been Henry Wallace. The Southern racists got together and ran him out.
You mentioned Bill Clinton. This kind of ties into what we're talking about. The last time we had a balanced budget in America
It was Bill Clinton.
Right. And that's like what...
And you know the time before that? Lyndon Johnson. How about that?
But now we're 34 trillion in debt.
Yes.
Somebody's writing checks for money we don't have.
Well, they've been writing checks for money we don't have forever, but now it's on steroids. Okay, it's on steroids now. Why is it on steroids? Well, because, see, the middle class, they don't make the money they used to make, but they're trying to keep everybody happy. They're trying to keep everybody happy by printing money. Okay, the Bretton Woods Agreement back in 1945, 46, right at the end of the war, made the dollar the reserve currency of the world. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's why we can print money, because we're pushing it off on everybody else. When that game is over and it's thinking it's coming to an end, then it's going to be a rude awakening in this country. India just bought 100 million, I think it was $100 million worth of oil. They didn't use dollars, they used rupees. So when these countries start trading without dollars, then we're not going to be able to get away with printing this paper and shoving it off on the world anymore.
Prime Minister Modi of India, now they are the largest really supplier of steel in the world. And with the whole U.S. steel situation now up in the air, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about not possibly Cleveland Cliffs could be stepping in. They've offered hash calf, hash stock. We had a gentleman from nearby Swickley who offered all cash. They basically turned that down. And now it's really going to be the future of Mr. Pratte and what they decide to do. But here's the thing, we just keep subtracting all of the things that have really made this region famous. Now, if we sell out U.S. Steel to another company and they move it, meaning the headquarters, or they change the name and don't keep it, how much more can we in this country subtract as opposed to add when it comes to our future? How in the world will we ever climb out of a $34 trillion debt that's growing every day if we keep taking these iconic brands and names away from what was the fabric of America?
Well, that's what I said when we started this discussion. You know, you started off, I said the country's been dummied down. I was a teacher for 8 years. We used to teach civics. We used to teach economics. We taught these kinds of things. We talk about how to make a checkbook or what credit was look like. You talk to these people coming, they don't understand that. So now they're vulnerable. They don't know how to think. I mean, they still possess the ability to think. They don't know how to think anymore. And then they listen to demagogues, somebody who gets them to agree with them so that they can sell their ads and sell their podcasts and sell their cable news and whatever, okay? But people don't realize that they're being manipulated and abused and brainwashed on a daily basis.
And this is staggering.
And this is not one side.
No.
This is not one side.
No, but here's another thing that just is absolutely staggering to think. We have $1 trillion worth of credit card debt in America.
Think more, react less. The B code breakout is all predicated on the fact it teaches you how your mind works, okay? The human mind, every day, constantly has to make a decision between lies and facts. It's that simple. Our life comes down to lies and facts. We will listen to the lies first until you realize that you are and make a decision to stop that. That's really what it comes down to. Facts is where everything good is, where safety is, security, progress. Lies is where you lose. So when somebody understands your vulnerabilities, they push these lies at you, and they keep pushing them at you and pushing them at you, and they just grow and grow and grow, and they overtake you. And that's what's happened to American politics and American economy. It's all about the stock market. You know, why do we have interest? I borrow money on lines of credit, 9%. My lines of credit now are 9%. They used to be They were 3.25%, 3.5%, 4%, 4.5%. Now they're 9%. Why? Why didn't the Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve, why didn't they raise interest rates 3 years ago? Why didn't they raise them from 3 to 4.5 3 years? No, they let it go. They let it get all the way out of hand, and then they try to rein it back by putting them on now. They're always behind the eight ball. Everything is driven by the stock market. That's all people care about is the stock market. They don't care about their grandkids' future. You know, if you talk to them, as long as you talk about these retirees, and they ought to know better. People my age, us baby boomers are now seniors. Okay, we know better. But you talk to them. Oh, as long as that stock market's growing, as long as I get mine, I don't care. And then they got 3 grandkids sitting there. You know, 2 of them come out of college. Sometimes they're babies. They never think about what's going to happen to them with the climate. How can you deny climate today? My God, you know, this is the hottest year the planet's ever had. I mean, that shouldn't be a political issue. And COVID shouldn't have been a political issue. It's a disease. No matter where it came from, or, you know, you got to deal with it and solve it. So, but you make everything a political issue, then that gets me hating you. So I'm always right, you're always wrong. And then no matter what I say, they tell me I'm on this side, and that's where you are with politics. The only answer to that is people have to start thinking. They have to learn to think. Think more, react less. I created the Educational Initiative for that purpose. I put a lot of money into that, millions of dollars of my own money over about 40 years to create this. And I discovered it by accident, training salespeople, and then I realized it's for everybody. But nobody sees the problems they have to that solution. And there is no other solution. You have to be able to think. Because when you think, you look at things and you look at facts, not opinions, not lies. And here's the acid test, can I prove it? When you tell me something, you know, when I say, can I prove it? If I can't prove it, you keep it. It's a lie. You keep it. I don't want it. If you have something and you can prove it, and I add it to my body of knowledge, and that's what I use to make decisions. What's happened to me in my life? At 76, I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing better today than I ever did. I have more money, more security, more safety, better relationships, and health. I don't have any medicine. And by the way, I'm losing weight and exercise. Okay? I'm finally taking care of me. So it's the whole ball of wax. Think more, react less.
But do you think people think more but overreact more?
No, you either think or you react, one of the two. There is no in between. Think or react, one of the two.
Well, I just know that our country has to start thinking a lot more.
And it starts with the individual.
Yeah, you know, because here's the thing, no matter who the president is, we have to still go to work the next day.
Exactly.
So you got to be worried.
I have a friend, Joe Schaefer, who's a local magistrate here. Okay?
Good guy.
Joe's a good friend of mine. And, you know, we actually, I never ran against him, but we were on different sides there for a while, okay? Now we're very good friends. And Joe said, you know what? He said, on election day, okay, it's important. He said, but in the morning, I get up, I got a place to go to work. And that was really good, astute thinking from Joe. But he's a good, clear thinker anyway.
He's so timid and shy. It's hard to get him going, folks. Sam Lucci, thank you so much. Think more, react less. Truly something you should all consider.